Hi, fourth graders. We are starting our science unit today, and it is on matter, which is going to be review for some of you, and for others, it's completely new, and that's okay. Um, Learning about matter is so important because matter is everywhere. Everything that you touch, everything that you see is matter. I am matter. You are matter. The table that I'm sitting at is matter. So today is all about looking at our vocab terms. So you're going to be writing down some vocabulary words today in a notebook that you have at home. It can be your pandemic journal or it can be a different notebook that you have, as long as you don't forget where it is, because you will get a chance to use those words on your test at the end of the week. So let's look at our learning target today. Our learning target today is that I can understand the three states of matter. So you're going to understand what matter is and the three states of it. And the three states are solids, liquids, and gases. Okay? So as we go on, I'm going to show you what our vocabulary words are today. You will be writing all of these words down in your notebook with me. Okay? So the words that we're going to be looking at today is matter, solid, liquid, gas, mass, volume, and the last one is weight. Okay, so right away, let's get our notebooks ready. Okay, so grab a notebook and you can always pause the video as I am writing if I write too fast. Every notes that we ever take, we need to have a title. So when we go back to it, we know what it is. So you're going to be titling your paper Matter Vocabulary. And then let's write the date today. So the date today is April 21st, 2020. Okay? All right, so let's look at our first vocab term today. The first vocab term today is matter. Well, what is matter? So matter is everything. It's anything that has mass and takes up space. Mass is going to be a vocab term that we also will learn. So if you're thinking, what is mass? You'll learn about that in just a second. So it's anything that has mass and takes up space. Therefore, we're matter. We have mass and we take up space. And those three things are solids, gases, and liquids. So the first thing that you're going to do today is with your notebook, I want you, if you can, not a big deal if you can't, to find two different colored pens or colored pencils. Okay? So pause this video if you have to go find that. What we're going to do is every vocab term, you're going to use one color. And then for every definition, you're going to use another color. It just makes it easier for you to look up those terms. The first one is matter. Anything that has mass and takes up space. So I'm going to use one color and I'm going to write matter. And then I like to do a dash and I'm going to use my next color. So our definition was anything that has mass and takes up space. Okay. So now let's look at the three types of matter. Well, first, we're actually going to look at what's the definition of mass. So if matter is anything that has mass, we need to understand what mass is. So mass, it means the amount of matter an object takes up. So mass is measured with a balance. It's not weight, because weight is measured with a scale. So it's very important to remember that mass is not the same as weight. When we think about, this kind of helps me remember. So I have matter in me, right? So my mass is the amount of matter that I have. Okay? So if I go on the moon, my mass is going to stay the same as if I was on Earth. But if I go on the moon, my weight is going to be different. I'm going to be a lot heavier on Earth than I would be on the moon. My weight would change. Your mass will always stay the same. The mass is the amount of matter an object takes up. So now I'm going to use my first color again, and I'm going to write mass dash. The amount of matter an object takes up. Okay, so that's the mass. All right, let's look at the next term. So the next term is volume. We've heard volume a lot in math, right? We've even learned how to find the volume of certain objects. So same thing with matter. So volume is the amount of space an object takes up. Okay, so we've learned a lot about perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around the shape. Volume is the amount of space the object takes up. Okay, the amount inside the shape. Okay, so volume, the amount of space an object takes up. That's your third one. Oop, I almost forgot to switch. Volume, the amount of space an object takes up. Okay. And again, feel free to just pause the video if I'm writing too fast. I know I do. All right, the next word. So we're going to go and we're going to start looking at solids, liquids, and gases. All right, so solid. So a solid has its own shape and volume. Okay, so it doesn't change its shape. It has its own shape and its own volume, and you're able to see it and touch it. Okay, so an example, there's a bunch of examples here that I have for you. So I keep clicking that. As I am writing, feel free to even write some examples down. I do want to like show you a visual. So I grabbed an ice cube that I froze with water. Okay, so my ice cube is a solid. Okay, it is a solid shape. Okay, and how you know something is a solid is you know that the particles inside a solid are very tightly packed together. That's why they create that shape and they don't change their shape. Okay? So their particles in a solid are very tightly packed together. So let's write this vocab term down. A solid has its own shape and volume. And I could write a bullet point and write an ice cube or a desk. Okay? I just wrote some examples there to help me remember. And then I'm also going to just write down with kind of a star, particles inside a solid are tightly packed together. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, the next one that we're going to look at is a liquid. Okay, so as we all know, when we have a solid ice cube, what happens when we leave it out for a while or we have it in a glass and we don't do anything with it? It then turns into a liquid. Okay, so this is an example of water in a cup. Okay, so a liquid will always take the shape of its container and has volume. Okay, so for instance, this glass of water, if I decided to drop it on this plate, right? This plate has ice cubes on it. If I decided to spill this water on this plate, it would start to flatten out and take the shape of the plate, right? If I put this into a squirt gun, right, it would take the shape of the squirt gun. So no matter what, any type of liquid will take the shape of its container and has volume. The particles in a liquid are still close together, but they're moving around a lot and they're not as tightly packed. And that's why they are not a solid. Okay? So some examples of liquid are water, hand sanitizer, Coke, ocean, the ocean liquid, and liquid hand soap. Okay, so you could write some of these examples down if you need to as well. But a liquid takes the shape of its container and has volume. So a liquid takes the shape of its container and has volume. Okay, and then I could put some examples here. I'm gonna put water, juice. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a star here. I'm gonna say particles move around and are more spread out. Sorry, I'll leave that there for you. Okay, great. Let's look at the next one. All right, so the next one is a gas, right? Okay, and so we just saw a solid, which was an ice cube, and then we also then saw a liquid. When the ice cube melts, it turns into a liquid. Well, what happens if I take that water and I put it over the stove, right? I mix it with heat. Well, if I do that, then I will see gas, right? As you can see right there. You see that gas coming out? Okay, so gas is much different than a solid because a lot of the times we can't see gases, right? The particles in gases are very much spread out, right? And gas is different than a liquid also because they don't really take the shape of a specific container, right? Right away when gas is released, it spreads out and all the particles also are spread out. Okay? Some examples of gas are oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor. Okay, so it's important to know that gas has no shape of its own, right? And it also has no volume. Okay, so then I'm going to be writing gas has no shape of its own and has no volume. Okay, I'm also going to put here um, particles are very spread out and gas expands. All right. So make sure that you have these notes. I will leave this for you, sorry. Make sure you have all of these notes, and then tomorrow we're gonna have an activity, a fun science activity, and then Thursday we will have some review, and Friday will be your matter quiz. All right, we will see you later.